Hi, I'm Sonia Jante.
I'm Jonathan Ward.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Lane, and together we're Unlocking Leadership. We're three experienced executive coaches with very different disciplines. In every episode, we take a question from a real client and provide key insights to address their challenges from our three different perspectives. It's a holistic approach to understanding challenges and opportunities. So let's get to today's question. Our question today is from Lorraine in Santa Cruz, California. She asks, how do you determine if someone is coachable or not? A colleague shared that someone in their department does not get along with others, yet they are considered a SME or also a subject matter expert that is important to the business. Seems a few leaders have tried to coach them and nothing has changed. Sonia, what can you share with Lorraine about coachability in clients? Great topic.
You have to be ready for it, and you have to be willing to self-examine and be willing to make a change. I would say that the people that I have met as a coach that were being given the same, if you will, diagnosis, that in many ways it was one of three things that was going on for them. They really were used to the way things were, and they thought it worked, and they'd been there a long time, and they just saw other people's desires to try to change them as not recognizing their value. So they were, if you will, truly unaware of their impact and and how they were limiting themselves. In some cases, for some people, it was that there was a fear associated with having to change. Because if I have to change, that means that I'm broken, or there's something wrong with me, or there was a lot of, if you will, insecurity around that. And then I think the other thing that I look at is, what is their why when it comes to their work? If I'm not saying that this is true about this person, Lorraine, but if I'm a very strong introvert and I'm much more comfortable just focusing on my work, and now you're trying to coach me on having to do a lot more stuff, talking and communicating with others, and that's not particularly energizing to me. I'm wondering, like, why is that important for this job? Why is that important for this function? So the only thing I would say that has changed a little bit in the last couple of years, because we've had so many things come at us and we've had to learn to adapt, that I would say that people that I would say had what I would call a low learning agility have had to come up the scale a little bit and recognize that there might be circumstances or situations in which applying yourself a little differently might make a difference. But in order for, when I'm interviewing somebody, if this was a diagnosis that was given, I would basically interview the person and try to understand what's their why now. Is there a why now? Do they think that, because if they're going into it with, well, my boss said that I have to do this in order to keep my job, that means you're not coachable. That means you're not really planning to make any changes. So there has to be some reasoning for that person. Otherwise, it's A, not going to work, and B, it's not sustainable. I don't know, Jonathan, what have you found when you found
Yeah,
something?
I go back to the president of the company that I was called in to coach one time, and the first thing he said to me when his boss, the CEO, was making him go through coaching, and the first thing he said when the door was closed is, "What do I have to do to make this go away?" And I thought, boy, this is a not coachable person. This is not set up for success whatsoever. When I go back and think about the people who I think the characteristics of somebody who is coachable, you've got to be interested in your own development. You've got to realize that you're not the best you can be. You're good enough right now, but you could be even better. And so you've got to be able to articulate this vision of your future self and recognize that in order to get from where you are now, you're going to have to make some change in yourself. And it may not be comfortable to do that, but I think being able to articulate this future vision of where you are, recognizing that there are gaps that you have to fill in. I think about people that have not been coachable. To me, people who make a lot of excuses about why things are the way why they are. This is why it goes this way. It's not my fault. Somebody else does this to me. Taking ownership in what's going on in your own behavior. That's one of the key things to being coachable. Being open to feedback and not getting defensive about it. Can you listen to somebody tell you that, you're not a bad person, but your behavior has to change in some way. And so can I dissociate myself from my behavior? A behavior is something I can fix. It's maybe not a personality trait of myself that I need to worry about, but the behavior I can definitely work on. And, are you willing to try things that are uncomfortable and make some mistakes and have some setbacks and learn from them along the way? Because it's not always going to be success after success. If things don't work out as they plan, how do you learn from that, and how do you keep moving forward as a whole person? So, I go back to thinking about somebody who's a subject matter expert, and a lot of the toughest people I've coached have been those technical experts, because they're convinced their knowledge is their key to power and influence in the organization. And if you move up within an organization, relationship building and being able to create a compelling vision for other people becomes much more important, and being able to work with other people becomes much more important than what you know personally from a technical standpoint.
Nope. Yeah. It comes to mind a joke that when I was younger, it's like, how does the psychiatrist change a light bulb? And the first light bulb have to want to change, right? So it, the same thing from a coaching perspective. It's kind of like the why that you talked about, Sonia, and just even to Jonathan, you alluded to this. It's kind of, instead of coming and approaching an employee, an executive, and saying, we need to fix you, right? It's more or less, we have this path for you, or you want to be this person in our organization. We encourage you to have a coach so that we can help get you at your highest performance level, right? Just like your great tennis players, Nadal has a coach, right? Your quarterbacks probably have a coach, right? We all can use a coach to help us see what we don't see, right? And this individual, as Jonathan had mentioned, is a subject matter expert, and that's almost his blind spot, because he's such a subject matter expert on his one subject. He's failing to see the fact that he has, we all have a full circle of things we can be responsible for. And he's so big on his technical piece, he's missing out on maybe the soft skills or the team building and their collaboration, or, being able to pull people along and with a new idea or project. So it's kind of like getting back to, it's all in how you phrase it. We're here to, you want to achieve this goal within our organization. This is a positive way to do that and to get you there quicker. We're investing in you because we believe in you. It's, it's to help you become the best leader you are, or the best version of you, versus we're trying to fix you, right? So I think in the past, coaching was kind of used in that form to kind of fix the person. They've got anger issues, anger management, or there was a way to weed them out because after the 6 weeks they hadn't improved. But I think nowadays, from what I'm seeing, it's really getting a coach to help you be the best you, right? And in your role, right? And to round you out in all the capacities you need to be successful. So I think the why is important, having a positive spin about why the coaching is going on. It's helping you get to where you want to go. It's a mutual goal. And just all the things you mentioned, Jonathan, open to feedback, open to listening, wanting to learn, want to improve, not being afraid to be vulnerable. Some of it's even executives I work with, we all have these tapes in our head that defeat us, right? So it's even changing those mind tracks to build confidence and build assertiveness and comfort with being vulnerable, so you can be more relatable. So it's all in creating that positive outcome that it's a win-win for the organization and a win-win for the person who's being coached.
One of the stories I always go back to about having somebody who's achieved quite a bit and is still, if you will, prickly, has sharp elbows, difficult to get along with, is, we don't have the luxury of living with nobody else. Our world is interdependent. We engage with other people. And so I remember having this interview with somebody that fell in that category. And she looked at me and she said, so why should I consider this? And I said, are you married? She said, yeah. I said, do you have children? She said, yeah. I said, do you want to have better relationships with them? She says, that's possible. And so I said, the more you know about yourself, that possibly is going to happen. So we were talking about another area of her life that she had just sort of also just put in a little box and had not thought about it. But it was, and it was interesting because oftentimes when you do meet somebody that you might put into the uncoachable category at the beginning, the first story that they will tell you in which they're practicing some new approaches or new ways is, oh, my wife says, I finally listened to her, or my husband said, and it has an impact. And then you realize, okay, so this interdependency, dealing with others, there are some skills there that I can apply and that will give me, rewards in other areas as well. Did that ever happen to you?
Yes. I can think of a woman I was coaching. She had a really big leadership position, very much in charge, very confident, had great ideas. But what she was failing on was bringing the rest of the team along because she was so firm in her decisions. I'm not saying she was necessarily my way or the highways, but she was just like, I got this great idea. We're going with it, right? And what happened was when I taught her how to get the other people engaged and buy into the whole idea so that she can move the team along with less resistance and in quicker, she used the same skill sets on her 2 kids and her husband. And she's like, this is amazing, right? Because she was using the same tactic at home that she's using at work that wasn't very effective in bringing the family along, right? So, but yeah, a lot of people don't realize we bring our same self wherever we go, work, personally, or relationships, right? So when you tend to fix one, it tends to also help the other. So it's a beautiful scenario.
And a lot of times I think too, we tend to be on our, even though we're not often our best selves at work, we're better. We treat our colleagues with more respect sometimes than we do when we get home, and our energy goes down. And then I don't want to say we kick the dog, but I mean, it's basically suddenly, we are not as good people as we should be with the people who matter most to us in our lives. And I think coaching can help you come up with that realization too, that you need to bring that same energy level at home that you have at work.
Yeah. You'll start experiencing feedback differently.
Yeah,
you'll actually welcome it. Any other thoughts?
No, just like kind of a tangent to that is just, I think all of a sudden you have a more appreciation to be accountable at home, just like you are accountable at work. Accountable how you show up, accountable how you communicate, accountable to how you show your emotions, right? So I think we tend to be a little more reserved at work as far as showing whether we're frustrated or angry versus we let all that out at home. And I think sometimes just being a little more accountable and how we feel helps that too.
I think even and listening skills. I mean, that's one of the big things we do with coaches is to get you to stop talking and stop listening to respond to other people, but listening to what they're actually saying. And hey, if we do that at home, that works pretty well too, doesn't it?
Amazing.
Well, thank you, Lorraine from Santa Cruz, California, for your question today. We hope you, our viewers and listeners, have a better understanding of how to determine coachability. To our listeners, if you like the content we shared today, please like the episode and also share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unlocking Leadership, askthecoaches.com. We look forward to reading your reviews. You can also find Unlocking Leadership, Ask the Coaches on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. If you have a leadership question or would like to reach out to our coaches, please email us at info@unlockingleadership-askthecoaches.com. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today. Tune in next time to find the keys to unlocking your best leadership.